Today's podcast is brought to you by Eddie. Find better candidates, conduct more focused interviews, and make data-driven hiring decisions. Hire Eddie, hire faster, hire smarter, hire more. Learn more at eddie.com. Now, let's podcast.
We want to welcome everybody from the Disrupt SLC audience here and anyone else who wants to listen to us. We are so excited to be here. This is David Alsop, and I am with Disrupt SLC, and I also head up HR at a company called Ultradent Products, a dental manufacturer that has pioneered teeth whitening and dental products for 40 years. And I am leading this podcast because in dental, we have a passion for the future of oral health. And we've got two individuals on this podcast with us today. And those two individuals are Alex Frommeyer, who is the CEO of Beam Dental, and Jeff Smith, who is the CEO of Gent Dental. And these are two CEOs, founders, individuals who have found a way to disrupt a space that probably doesn't get disrupted very often. You usually hear about it in the tech space, but bringing technology to the future is where we're going. So with that said, welcome, Alex. Welcome, Jeff. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this as we get started? Just do a quick roundtable introduction, starting with Alex. Just talk to us about, your background, where you come from a disruption standpoint with Beam, and what you guys are doing to change the industry. And Jeff, we'll get to you right after that.
Yeah, perfect. So my name's Alex Frommeyer. I'm one of the co-founders of and CEO of Beam Dental. We are a dental insurance provider in 25 states. For mostly small and medium-sized business. So Beam got started in 2012, really around a simple premise. One of the things that we were, I think, experiencing in my co-founder and I's first company, which was a service provider helping build and do R&D for medical devices, is this kind of conflation or cross-section of these two intersecting spaces. One was digital healthcare and digital health, as we now call it, and the Internet of Things. And we were starting to see this really interesting technological revolution start to form in 2010, 2012 timeframe that really caused us to take a step back and understand that the healthcare of 10 years from now is going to be a lot different than 10 years ago. And at the same time, my sister was in dental school becoming a dentist and is now married to one as well, has her own practice and in the Cincinnati area. And we became really inspired to try to apply some of the lessons that were unfolding and being learned in the digital health space broadly to the dental industry specifically. And that led us to the first connected toothbrush, which was our company's original product. And then later a dental insurance product built around the connected toothbrush and the data of your daily oral hygiene. So the premise of the company was really simple. People that are taking care of their teeth every day in general will produce fewer onerous dental claims over time. Things like root canals and gum disease treatments will happen less frequently with people who are really engaged and active in their dental care every day, and vice versa for those that aren't as engaged, aren't as active in their hygiene. And that led to a company that's really built on a risk-based pricing model that no one else in our industry has the capability to do. As part of any insurance policy with Beam, every member has the opportunity to get one of our connected toothbrushes as well as replacement heads, toothpaste, and floss. And that's built into the dental insurance product experience, kind of like a Dollar Shave Club mixed with a insurance business. And that product allows us to do something with data that the rest of the industry can't, but it also allows us to build a product experience that really focuses on an investment in preventative care in a very, very direct and simple way.
That's amazing. One thing that comes to my mind when you were talking is it's not just the technology that you're bringing to it. When I go to the doctor, the dentist, or anybody, one of the things that frustrates me is sometimes I feel with my insurance, I'm getting treated like everybody else that's not doing the right things. And you guys are triggering a behavioral change that if you do good things, you can get rewarded for it versus being penalized like everybody else that's not doing the right thing. So that really rings true to me, not just technologically, but the behavior rewards people to do the right thing. And are you guys seeing that as a change that's taking place when people do it? They're being incented and it's changing their behavior?
Yeah, absolutely. So certainly one of the things we've noticed over time is that by simply putting the right tool in your hand and giving you a reason or a motivator to engage with that product deliberately, it helps shape behavior. And so certainly we see higher rates and improving rates of hygiene over time. And I still think there's a lot of capacity that we haven't even yet gotten to in terms of kind of always dangling that carrot out a little further in front of the member in order to encourage the best possible hygiene habits, which will, do things like control costs, allow a more affordable and higher and a larger benefit dental insurance policy. And it helps connect what's happening in the home to what's happening at the point of care delivery in the dentist's office. And we think that's a really important connection that basically doesn't exist today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Jeff, let's turn it over to you. I think you got the same thing. You're trying to make it easier, better, and you're trying to help with people's health in a good way. So you want to talk about Jet Dental?
Sure. Yeah, we really made it, what we do is we go on site or on premise to corporations, and we do their preventative care right there in the office. So what we found is that was the whole idea. The reason we had this idea is because we kind of noticed that there was more on-site services being provided in the workplace, and so that was a good timing thing for us. And the technology in the mobile side is better now too. So you can offer, you can do X-rays there on site and things. So it was a good convergence of it was the timing was right for the marketplace, and the timing was right for technology, so we could provide this service at the right time for folks. And you have low unemployment, so a lot of people are wanting to offer more things to their employees. But really, the key to what we do is we really make it so convenient for people to get their teeth cleaned that one of the comments I heard one employee say was, "If I don't do it now, when am I going to ever do it?" Because the average people that we see haven't been to the dentist in over 2 years. And so, and they're pretty much mostly millennials. So our 80% of our customers are millennials. So here in Utah, we're servicing, Qualtrics and Vivint and, a lot of those companies, most every high-tech company you can think of, Podium, Pluralsight, which would make sense. They have a lot of millennials. They're more progressive in doing things like having on-site services. And so those are the kind of companies we've been working with. And the good news, if you look at our Google reviews, it's 4.9. So we're just about almost all of our reviews are 5-star reviews. So the employees love it. The employers like it because they're offering, people like yourself, David, or HR people, they like to offer things that people want. They like to see that they're getting 4 or 5-star reviews, meaning that they appreciate you as an HR manager offering a service that they need. Every single person in America should get their teeth cleaned and examined every 6 months, right? So at least once a year, you should be in there and getting your oral exam. So it's something that everybody should do. And so we just make it so convenient that we show up at their workplace. It doesn't get any more convenient than that. And we're seeing the right people. 80% of the people we see haven't been in the dentist for over 2 years. So they're the ones that need it the most. So we're making convenient to people that need to get it done to help their health. And then we are improving overall health because when you get your oral health in line, it helps your overall health.
That's great. And, as both of you talk, one thing that rings true from an HR perspective when it comes to disruption is we get knocked in what we're trying to do to disrupt and do things better in our history in HR, in organizations, for doing things built for the back end on what we want and what we need. Finance builds it so they can get budget information when it comes to tools and resources. And one thing that we talk about in HR is building a tool that's easy and accessible for the end user, the consumer, so they will consume it, they'll use it, they'll love it. And I think that comes from the products and the services. When you guys look at what you're doing, you guys are disrupting industries because you're bringing it more easily to the consumer. You're bringing reasons why they would want to use it, versus I think a lot of historical dynamics in certain functions different from industry that we're learning from what you guys do in technical disruption is how do you build things for the end user? And, we're hearing right now that a lot of companies, the employee experiences, they go home, they have amazing technological experiences, and they come to work and they're 20 years behind. Does that ring true? And it seems like that's what you guys are doing, and you're finding disruption is, taking the way things are, bringing technology, and then making it an amazing consumer experience and getting to the hearts of what really matters, what they want to buy, what they want to do. Do you guys both see that and where you're disrupting?
Yeah, I think that's right down the fairway in terms of how we're building the business. There's so many opportunities to just cut friction out of all these little processes that frankly just don't work well today. Coordinating a benefits plan through a broker to an HR manager like yourself is laborious, and getting quoting and renewals and policy documents and processing claims and enrolling all the members, enrolling people onto Cobra. There's just a lot of stuff there, right? And those are classically pretty manual processes. So to Jeff's point, I think there's a population of people, which is kind of the emerging millennial class, that are used to digitally native, easy to consume experiences in every other part of their life. And employee benefits should operate that way. And dental services should operate that way because, frankly, everything else does. So we totally agree there.
Yeah, I love it. He makes a really good point. Some industries in particular, I had actually bought a building company with brick and stone company. It's so interesting how certain industries are way ahead digitally and some are way behind. And it's interesting how we just did some simple things to make the experience better, and we got huge market share in a B2B environment. But I think in the B2C, our whole business is all about, all we talk about is how do we make a better experience. I mean, it's not by accident we get 4.9 Google reviews, right? It's like everything we do, every single touch point, we try to use technology to make it better for the employee or our customer, right? So we think about every experience from the second we talk to HR to, they have to send email to their people. How can we make it super simple to sign up? Can't we just figure out what the employees, we already have the employees' information. Why don't we roll that over so let's to retype it? I think any of us that have gone in, and he talked about that, was a really good point. When you go to healthcare, I mean, if you talk about terrible net promoter scores, go to healthcare and look at health insurance companies. They're going to be, I mean, look at Nordstrom, where they're at probably. By the way, we went to Qualtrics, they said we were over 70, which is world class. And that's kind of where Nordstrom is. But you look at a lot of insurance companies, like he'd mentioned, because they make you fill all these forms. I mean, don't we all hate that? If you're going to go to dental office or to a health, whether it's dental office or you go to a doctor, right? And they make you think, didn't I just fill this form out already? And I got to fill it again and again. It's literally like back 50 years. I mean, it's crazy that we can't track this stuff digitally. So we look at every touch point and say, we try to do it just like we do everything else in our life. For some reason, we're an industry in dental and medical is very similar, where it's just way, and part of it's because there's all these healthcare issues and there's HIPAA. There are a reason why it's a little bit more, I guess, red tape but there's no excuse for us not being further ahead, where you can, maybe like for us, if you have a tablet, you show up at our place, we don't have paperwork, we have a tablet. Which is like most everywhere else you go, right? For some reason in medicine, we feel like we have to be back 20 years and have to write things out. And then every time we go in the office, we write the same dang things. Just that one thing irritates all of us, I believe. And so, but you think about that if you don't care about that, then the whole process just is brutal. If any of you guys, as you know, if you've gone to hospital or you go to the dental, the medical office or dental office, there's so much room for making it a better experience. So that's all we think about is every single touch point, making it better and making it, I don't care if they're dental industry or not, making it like any other experience where you'd go. So we get examples from other industries to make it a much better experience.
Yeah, and that's dental, medical. I think that's one of the knocks that us as a consumer outside of the industry and being a consumer of it get frustrated with. It's one of the few industries that's not built with a consumer mindset in the beginning, and it still pervades. And you guys are disrupting that, and I love that. Even to the point where, we talk about the consumer. Alex, you guys are getting into gamifying the toothbrush for children, and I want to hear you talk about that and how that's doing, and where that's going, because I think about my own kids. I just went to the dentist. We we got a dental checkup and they gave them a sucker at the end. And, the worst thing you can do for the kids is reinforce their teeth health by giving them candy at the end. But you guys are gamifying the toothbrush. Can you talk about that and how that's disrupting the children, where it's the most important to get their teeth right at the beginning?
Yeah, the lollipop at the end of the dental visit is pretty ironic, but it also is a very clever ploy by the dentist to make sure that you have to come back for another cleaning in the future, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's, from our perspective, behavior shaping is about taking things that we already know are going to help and really driving them as a habit in life. Now, we're lucky in that most people are aware of the existence of a toothbrush. Most people own a toothbrush, and most people are using a toothbrush to some degree already in their life. And so it's not like we're creating a brand new behavior from scratch. That's really, really difficult. So some of that heavy lifting is done for us. One of the places where we see a lot of opportunity and where we've spent a certain amount of resource to date is creating a family dynamic that installs those habits into users early on. And so by creating, one of the things we've created that I think you're alluding to is a game that we've embedded into our mobile experience that is attuned for kids to be able to play. Very simple, like kind of Flash style game in this case, where you're trying to avoid getting hit by asteroids in space. So the premise of the game is super simple and built for that kind of like under 10-year-old. What's interesting about it, though, is you can't play the game and you get lives to play the game after you brush your teeth. So a parent can communicate, by brushing your teeth, you'll earn X number of lives, and those lives then allow you to play the game. And so, for some it'll work great, others won't be interested in the game and it won't compute. But we're finding ways, large and small, to try to teach this idea that building the habit and reinforcing it with fun things like playing a video game are the preferred behavioral path that will then benefit that person for a long time. And there are ways to do this with adults as well that maybe aren't as explicit gamification, but there's a lot of what behavior shaping is all about is economic based, right? So if I can give you rewards and a stronger insurance product that benefits you and helps tie you to your employer in a valuable way, that's also benefiting that same behavioral base that helps us operate a profitable dental insurance business, but it also helps the employer set a benefit into motion that attracts and retains employees, which is also, of course, of interest and the entire point of offering benefits to the employees in the first place. So all of that works in this comprehensive ecosystem that we've at least laid, I think, a strong foundation for.
That's great. Well, let's take a shift in talking about disruption and coming into industries and disrupting them and how disruption takes place. One thing that I'm picking up on is, where it comes from. Sometimes some of the best disruption comes from outside, right? From the outside in. And as I was listening to both of you, it doesn't sound like you guys are dentists. It doesn't sound like you grew up as dentists. It doesn't sound like you guys started in the dental industry. And one, is that the case? And you guys coming in, did you guys identify and come in from the outside and bring the ideas in to help shake it up? Or did you guys grow up in that industry?
Go ahead.
So we'll start with you, Jeff, and then we'll go to Alex.
Okay. I did not come from dental industry. Didn't know anything about it. We just saw a need in the marketplace for it. So, and I connected with a dentist so we can get clinical folks to do the work. But the pain point, was something we discovered, and maybe it's harder if you're in the industry to kind of see that.
Yeah, Alex, the same for you.
Yeah, we consider ourselves almost by policy outsiders. In fact, very few people, we have about 75 folks on the team, very few, for sure less than 5, maybe 3 people on the team have any prior dental industry experience at all. And that's been fairly purposeful. And the reason why is we believe that what we're building is a technology company that happens to deliver a phenomenal dental insurance product and experience. But the core of it is we're building a best-in-class technology company. And we consider ourselves well-informed outsiders. My sister, as I mentioned earlier, is a dentist and married to one. So I also have a brother-in-law, an uncle who's a dentist, an aunt who's a hygienist. Like, it's in my family and around me. But I certainly, you could put me in front of an open mouth and I wouldn't know the first thing about, what drill to pick up and how to execute any of the work. But, I think from our perspective, and Jeff's the same way, it's all about crafting the experience, and the expertise in executing the work is well understood inside the industry. A lot of the problems in the industry is, how do I file a claim and get reimbursed efficiently? How do I help people find dentists who are high quality and in the network? How do I make life easy for an HR manager who's just trying to put a good plan in place for their employees? Those are the real actual issues in how dental services broadly can work better.
Well, I think that you make a great point, which I think the dental industry has done a lot of things, and there has been some disruptive things, but it's more of like the clinical side. I think has come a long way. Company like Ultradent, there's some good companies that have come up with some really terrific products. I mean, look at veneers nowadays. I mean, there's some killer products nowadays. So there's absolutely disrupting. We're just picking areas where it hasn't been. In my mind, insurance has a long ways to go, and the things he's doing are way ahead of what the other insurance companies are doing. And then you look at, and there are other insurance companies doing that as well. But I think that there are areas that you can make change. I think the consumer experience has been about the doctor. What I mean by that is the doctor says, well, I work Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3. How is that what the consumer wants? I can tell you right now, it's not what they want. One of the things we did when a practice, so we have brick and mortar practice, we just opened on Friday. Guess what? We completely filled the Friday. Why? Because there was a demand for it. How disruptive? I mean, is that super disruptive? I don't know. It was just a small little thing, but it was kind of funny. It's like, it's all about what the consumer wants, right? At the end of the day, when you disruptive things, it's because that's what people want in the marketplace. You're not doing disruptive things just to be disruptive. I mean, you're doing disruptive things because you're saying, hey, the market's over here doing something that the consumer doesn't want, or the consumer is wanting something. There's this huge gap, right? And so you're trying to fill the gap. And so what he's doing with his insurance is filling a gap. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We're filling a gap. We're filling a huge problem. And that's why we're being disrupted, because like the disruption is this: the consumer wants something over here and it's not being provided. I know it's silly to say we open on Fridays, but we literally filled all of our Fridays are completely full because people want to go to dentist on Friday, but most of them aren't open on Friday. That's a pretty simple concept. But so I think there's a long way to go in dentistry in different areas. But dentistry industry is a great industry, and they've done a lot of disruptive things, just not in the areas. We're just disrupting areas that haven't been disrupted as much. Those areas in particular.
I'm envisioning you ringing the NASDAQ bell one day, and somebody asks you on like CNBC, how did you build such a massive company? What was it that you did differently? And you're like, we stayed open on Fridays.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just a simple thing that I'm trying to explain, that's not, we are on the mobile side, but the point is, there's a whole bunch of need for that, for people wanting to access the dentist when they want to access the dentist. So we've gone a lot further than that, obviously, going to them. But there's a lot of areas still in the dentistry that you can improve on. But they've done a lot of great things too, for sure.
Yeah, think about the clinical. To your point, the clinical side of dentistry has seen a ton of evolution over the years, and one of the ones playing out right now is there was. Braces, as we know them, brackets and wires, and then Invisalign disrupted that market 20 years ago or so, and now direct-to-consumer Invisalign or clear aligner companies like Direct Smile Club and Candid and others are now in the market, and so that space has seen actually a ton of this type of disruption before, but still relatively new in insurance, relatively new in direct care delivery like Jet's doing. So there's plenty of room to play inside of an industry of this size.
That's a great example. That's a huge disruptive thing that's happening now.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, a clear ringing theme of disruption is sometimes just listening to the market, listening to the consumer, understanding it. We've got a story that plays out in our company at Ultradent. Is our founder. We founded Opalescence in this company, which was the first true teeth whitening experience for really getting teeth white in a way that's safe and able to make people's teeth white for a long term. And the story behind that innovation in the industry 20, almost 30 years ago is it was just the founder's own daughter just came home from school one day and was getting made fun of because her teeth were not as white as other people's. And she just cried to her father that, Dad, you're in that industry. Why can't you make something that makes my teeth white so I don't have to put up with the grief? And out of that came research and focus on something that could just help, his daughter not get made fun of, but he listened to, his own daughter outside of the industry. And so I think sometimes it's just that listening of what's going on where people are blinded by their own dynamic of what they want when they build companies. And, you guys are listening to the market, you're listening to the consumer, and you're building something with technology that can drive that. It probably comes back to the question of both of you are in this industry. Do you guys need dentists? Do you have dentists on staff that help educate you on the converse side, that you're from the outside? Maybe you need some insider understanding as you build that. And does that something that plays into your strategy of building, the future?
Well, for us, I mean, we might be a little bit different. We actually are clinically doing the work. So absolutely. Yeah. My business partner is a dentist. So we've kind of bifurcated this company into, I'm focusing on the customer experience and from the B2B, meaning I'm talking to HR folks and getting in there to the company. So the sales and the marketing side. And he's focusing on actually finding the right people to deliver the clinical side. The clinical side is not that difficult. I mean, it's something they already all do. Matter of fact, it's kind of, we're doing a lower level of service. Not lower level service, very high level service, but we do things like hygiene. We're not doing, braces and things. We're not doing a lot of the high level stuff. So a lot of stuff we're doing clinically is very easy to do. It's just trying to deliver it in a mobile way. So trying to get really good people that can do really good work that have great bedside manner. He focuses on that and then making sure we're delivering a high quality of care. And so, yes, I definitely need a dentist to help with that. And we have a head hygienist who's amazing and a head assistant that help get really quality people to do quality work and that have that whole Nordstrom type mentality of great quality of service, whatever the customer needs and treating them well and realizing that person literally has to go to a meeting at 9:00. And so we need to be out of there, right? So their time is very important to them. So we understand, listen to what they need. And the reason why we get the high 5-star reviews is because we, listen to them. And the dentist has a lot to do with, the success, the dentist and all the quality people, all the clinical people in our company. So we have our business divided in the clinical side, and then we kind of have the business side. And so we have to be good at both.
Yeah. In Beam's case, we don't have any dentists or dental professionals on staff. I keep a really close group of advisors who are in the industry at different levels to better understand that perspective, because it's, of course, a very important stakeholder in what we do as an insurance provider. But we will probably do something in-house at some point. But most of what we concentrate on today is really more about delivering that technology and digitally native experience to the customer.
Got it. One thing with disruption and new players in industries that comes out is you always face the establishment. The establishment starts to see and target and try to come after you. As you guys are growing, you're trying to establish yourselves and build up what you're doing to take over and really build the future. Do you face those challenges of people are coming after you, trying to pick off your ideas, trying to come after you and take down what you're doing from a competitive landscape standpoint? And if so, how do you fight that, overcome that, and stay true to what you're trying to do and survive the big players in the industries you're in, if that exists, where you're in that industry, or if it's a new industry or not?
Well, the biggest complaint we get is you're stealing our business, which is, I don't know where to start with that anyway. But ironically, we're not. What we're doing is so I think we've been trying to educate and work. We actually work with dental partners so we're going across the country, start in Utah, in Phoenix, going to Dallas, going to California. But what we found is 80% of the people that were coming to us hadn't been to the dentist in 2 years, which I mentioned earlier. So what we found is like, we're actually getting a whole group of people that haven't been going to the dentist at all. And then guess what we do when they say they have work to be done? We send them into the local dentist. So if they're working with the dentist, they go work with them. So we've actually been growing the industry. We've been helping by getting better preventative care. And then when they do need to get work, they go to their local dentist who we partner with. So it ironically been helping local dentists by being able to send them business of people that have work that, they haven't been 2 years. Guess what? They have some work that needs to be done. And we're not going to do a root canal, in the workplace. You're going back to the work with your gauze on and, drugged up. So it really is nice where we've been able to expand the whole market and help. So I think we help the whole environment. So the good news for us is I think once people understand that what we're actually doing and get it, they realize that we're helping the whole system, meaning we're helping the most importantly the consumer or our customer, but we also it's a good thing for the worker, the employee. We're helping them get healthier, and they're not out of the office so much, right? Which helps. So it's good for the employer too, and it's good for the insurance company because we're getting people to be more preventative. So that should lower costs, right, overall. And ironically, we're getting them in the dentist, they get their work done. And so we even help the local dentist. So I think we help although we're disruptive in many ways, I do think that, we do help. When you look at the whole environment or the people involved, I do think it's kind of benefits everyone.
One of the insights that really became the mission and the vision of Beam when we started the company was understanding and realizing for the first time that 100 million Americans around the country don't have dental insurance or any other sort of affordable access to dental services, meaning that if they go to the dentist, they're paying full price. And when, considering that most dental needs are not life-threatening, when given the choice between paying full price or just not going or putting off care, that is what most people do. They'll just delay or put off that care until a future date. And many times we feel like our actual competition isn't Delta Dental or MetLife or any of the actual dental insurance companies that we compete with for, winning contracts and accounts today. But instead you're kind of fighting against just not engaging in the dental industry at all. And it's because there's 100 million people that aren't really participating today. And then of course, some percentage of people, even though they have coverage, aren't really participating either. And that's really the focus of the company. It's an awareness gap. It's a healthcare equity gap. It's really what we want to solve for at the end of the day. We believe that we offer a best-in-class product, and if you want to set that next to our competitors and pick one, awesome. Like we're happy to play that version of events out. I think a better version of that for the industry's sake is let's figure out how to get all 300 million plus people involved in the industry so that it's really considered a part of the healthcare equation for everybody.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like we're both kind of the same way. Like you said, we're just both expanding, care to everyone because people aren't going, and so or they're not getting insurance. The one thing we didn't address, just real quickly, what's so important, but we're both doing, is that oral health is more important than, and I think most HR managers know this, but you're twice as likely to have a stroke if you have gum disease. And guess what? If you haven't gone to dentist in 2 years, you got gum disease. If you don't have dental insurance, you're not going, like you'd mentioned, you have gum disease. I can guarantee it. So if you're twice as likely to have a stroke and 3 times as likely to have a heart attack, that's kind of important. That oral health is way more important than a lot of people understand because it affects other parts of your health. It affects diabetes, and so there's so many other things that affects in your overall health. That oral health is very, very important, and that's why our charity work is we go to underprivileged areas and refugees, and we do their dental work for them for free because we know we can help their overall health by getting their oral health in shape. So we also feel it's a very noble thing we're doing. And in other words, a lot of millennials that work for us, as you know, they want a purpose, and we're excited about our purpose, which is to improve overall health by improving oral health. And because we make it easier to get oral health, and you're talking about people that can afford it even. I mean, these corporations we go to, they can afford it, and it's free. They just don't go do it. So, by making it so easy, we get them to do it. And so that's why we work with corporations where they need it, and they have free oral health, right? It's paid for. the preventative is paid for. And we've felt like we've had to, our business, that what we're doing is important because it's helping their oral health and overall health with what we're doing. So we feel it's a bit more important than just making convenient. We feel like we're improving overall health, and that's kind of our mission, and what people get excited about in our company is making a difference in people's lives by improving their overall health through better oral health.
Well, why don't we do that? Just a quick commercial for each of you when it comes to if we've got an HR leader or a CEO or someone that's just looking, at lowering the dental costs, lowering the costs in the company. Can you guys each just talk about what is it about your product that either an HR manager, HR leader, or a CEO or someone that's running the cost analysis and the value analysis of their benefits, why would they go with you guys? Free commercial for you to talk about. Is there a cost savings? And then, you guys have talked so much about the other values about it. What is the big win for people when they use your products? And we'll start with Jeff and then, go to Alex next.
Well, it's funny you asked that. We just did a survey. So BYU Marketing said, hey, we would like to do something for your company. And we said, can we talk to some of your employees and find out, some of your customers. So would they talk to the HR manager and find out why they went with you? So we just got the results back last week, interestingly enough. And the number one reason they said was because they wanted to provide a better experience. They wanted to provide benefits or things that their employees want. So this is something that they said that their employees wanted. So they were just delivering a service, and that the feedback they got was really, really good. And so they kind of got, the HR manager kind of got a pat in the back for providing this service to people. It's something they wanted, they needed, they really appreciated it. So that's the number one reason. The second reason was helping them improve their overall health, which we just discussed, so I won't go through that. And number three was that they were finding less time in the office, because the number two reason why people leave the office is to go to the dentist. We don't know exactly how many really go to the dentist, but that is number two reason why people are leaving the office to go to the dentist. So they felt like it would keep them in the office more. And people, by the way, don't want to be leaving the office for that either, by the way. So it's kind of a win for the employer and employee. So those are the three reasons why they said they went with our service.
Got it.
HR managers who are trying to create a benefits package to attract and retain great employees need to think about a comprehensive package. And for most folks, that includes something for a dental benefit already. So what we're really advertising as a company is how you want that experience to go. There are two general directions. You can do the status quo, which will get you a product of a certain quality at a price at a certain level with a network of dentists that will be adequate for your company and how it's set up, and a very difficult administration associated with it. So Beam aims to equalize some of those factors, like a strong national network of dentists, which we have, a fair price to pay for the actual risk level associated with that particular benefit plan for that particular employer. And then there are other places where we won't compromise, and we are clearly trying to create a distinct and differentiated benefit experience. And that's where we look to the ease of administration for the broker and the HR manager, with things like enrollments and claims management and rolling employees on and off of the plan, and getting pricing and renewals. And then the one that really makes us stick out, which is the perks program with our connected toothbrushes, toothpaste, floss, and replacement head subscription service. And so there's something there for the employee and the dependent, which is the physical goods. There's something there for the broker and the HR manager, which is the technology to help ease administration issues and capacity. And then an overall product experience that just makes life easier and better for everybody involved at that stakeholder level. So when you add all that up, we hope that in aggregate, that benefit sticks out like a sore thumb from the competing carriers in our space. And so far that's true. We, for example, kind of came to this opportunity because we've been spending some time as a business in Salt Lake and Utah in general, introducing Beam to the community. And it is growing rapidly, specifically because those differentiators are very clear and they compute well in the Salt Lake market. And that's, I think, responsive to there being a lot of employers locally, and I think Jeff's experienced this as well, who are very progressive, understand the value of employee benefits programs, and really want to offer something different and better to their employees. And that's really exciting to us.
That's great. Well, I wish we could take all of your time today. This is fascinating. It's great conversation. And I'm just going to end it with a couple of questions. The first question is, when you guys think about disruption, and we're trying to help people just think about when they're trying to change the way things are done, they're trying to push against status quo, and sometimes status quo pushes back. What wisdom have you guys learned in your experiences with disruption that you would share nuggets of wisdom with our audience about how to keep with disruption, how do you make that successful when you're trying to disrupt the way things are?
That's a really good question. It seems to me like when I think of disruption, you think about there's simply a pain point somewhere, right? Or it's the other direction. So either there's a pain point you're trying to solve, so there's a problem and you're trying to fix it, or there's just a better way to do something, right? So it's more of a pleasure pain thing, right? This would be something that would be better for us and would give us a lot more benefit if we went this direction, or there's a pain point. So the hard part is sometimes there's so many constituents that get to agree to this, right? So like, let's say you're an HR manager, you want to do something, you got to talk to maybe your boss, maybe the CEO, and you got to get everybody's buy-in. So I typically find that in disruption, you have to make sure that the pain point is enough or the benefit is enough to make change. And it's sometimes, because change is hard, right, to make. And so we try to do things where we can kind of keep them where they're not changing their behaviors too much. And it's like he mentioned with the insurance side, you try to do it to where if it's too disruptive, sometimes people aren't prepared for it or ready for it. And so I think that you have to think through, and you got to kind of get buy-in from different groups and make sure there's enough of that's worth the pain of making the change, or that you're going to get enough out of it. And that's I was nervous when we started this company. I'm like, it sounds good, but is a busy HR manager, are they really going to set up a day for us and let us come in and do the work? Is there enough of a benefit for them, or is there a pain point there that we're solving that they're willing to do it? And so there has to be enough there. Like if somebody comes in and say, hey, I can save you 2% on your office supplies and you're spending $100 a month, you're like, it's not worth dealing with, right? It's not enough oomph there. So you have to think it through. Is there enough? Is it painful enough, or is there a reason that you can get people to move to want to do it, right? And I think that's one thing I always look at is there enough there? And so think about the big picture and who all would have to change, what all you would have to do to make it work. And is there enough benefit or enough pain there to make that happen?
The number one skill set of the 21st century, in my opinion, is malleability. And I think the most successful people professionally, the most successful companies in environments that are going to change on a cycle by cycle, decade by decade basis are going to be successful in the context of their ability to adapt to change. And this is something you hear all the time, but I think it's never been more true, and it's only going to get more true, that the ability to think differently and be malleable and roll with changes happening that are happening everywhere all the time is what's going to lead you to success. HR is not classically a place where people are willing to be experimental. Experiments are viewed as risky, and risks are viewed as potentially problematic for attraction, retention, etc. inside a business. And while that may be true, what we found is that progressive HR managers that are willing to lean in on something new they had never heard of before, which we have a front row seat for since we're mostly introducing Beam to folks that previously had never heard of us, have seen benefit from it. And they can then articulate that benefit, quantify that benefit, and feel like the juice was worth the squeeze, and it was valuable that they leaned in and took what they perceived to be a chance on a new company that's still figuring things out. And as we've seen more and more of those examples, it becomes clear that there's a whole group of companies that are never going to want to hear our pitch, or they'll want to hear our pitch 20 years from now. And there's a whole group of companies that are the ones that are really building best-in-class organizations that are taking risks and being progressive and thinking progressively in their HR stack, because they're probably thinking progressively in other parts of their business too. And so there's some common DNA in a business like that, which makes them a great customer for us, but it also probably makes them successful in the marketplace anyway. So that's really the synthesis of what I think we see to create disruption in your business, and we see it reflect often in the HR stack too.
You made a good point too. Just 10 seconds on this, but when we went to business, we went to ones that we knew were more early adopters, or people that were more innovative. And the same thing within your company. You got to have people that are more willing to kind of be innovative and early adopters. And you have to find those folks if you're going to have change. You can't go to like in any marketplace, you can't go to late majority and hope that they're going to, or if they kind of have that mindset of, hey, I want to wait till everybody else does it first, and then we'll see. You kind of have to think through the people and the company you talk to, because you got to get those people who are willing to take risk and to innovate and adopt something early on.
That's great. Great perspective. We appreciate it. And my last question as we leave today is really about culture, right? That's a lot of what we're trying to disrupt in companies, in culture, especially here where we're in a high growth environment where we're at in this state in Utah. And we're trying to get leaders to think about the winning ingredient of culture. So, we'll start with Alex. I saw on social media that you gave your employees the day off to go voting. You did a little thing to help people do their civic duty. So that's an example of someone and a leader really thinking about culture. But can you guys both talk about, starting with Alex, what do you find the winning ingredient for culture is? And as people build cultures, how do you balance performance with the joy that you want people to have to deliver results for you?
That's a phenomenal question, and I'll actually start off that off a recent thing we did, which is we closed our office for Election Day and encouraged everybody to just participate in their civic duty. I think we're going to see a return, especially as millennials start to become influential in more and more companies as they age, and then be starting and running more growing businesses as well as a percentage of like the total economy. I think we're going to see a return to this notion of corporate responsibility, which used to be baked into culture. It used to be baked into our psyche in this country, where it wasn't just about satisfying your shareholders. It wasn't just about creating shareholder value. You were also trying to create employee value. You were trying to create value for your customers, which some people, are probably doing well today already. And then there was this important other factor, which was also creating value for your community. Some cities, some places, some companies do this better than others, but we've lost, I think, a lot of that being baked into the expectation of what being in business means. I think we're going to see a return to this idea of corporate responsibility. And there are small ways that you can participate in this that have a huge impact. It makes a huge impression on your customers, makes a huge impression on your employees. Something as simple as closing our office for a day to give everybody the time and the air cover, if you will, to be able to find, get to their polling place and make sure they're registered and cast a vote, made this massive impact on our employees. They all of a sudden saw a company that cares so much about stuff that has nothing to do with dental insurance in this case, which is why the company exists in the first place, but cares about the country, cares about democracy, cares about voting rights, cares about other topics. And we try not to be prescriptive. I mean, we weren't telling you who to vote for, certainly, but it's one of these relatively small things you can do as a business that have this massive impact. And we're looking for ways as a company to do other things to support our local community being a good corporate citizen. But also, I think we should think of ourselves as a national business, because you don't really compete locally anymore. You compete nationally in most businesses and in most cases. So where else, how can we be playing a role in Salt Lake City? How can we be playing a role in the San Francisco Bay Area? How can we be playing a role in our hometown in Columbus, Ohio? And I think there are some obvious and non-obvious answers to that, but something that I think we're going to see more and more companies take a more active role in over time.
Steve Jobs, when he was hiring for the president of Apple, I can't think of his name. He was the CEO of PepsiCo. He said, "Do you want to sell sugar water the rest of your life, or do you want to come to Apple and change the world?" And I think that we hire a lot of millennials, but I think people want to feel like they're making a difference and that they're having impact on what they're doing. And so I think that people really will buy in your mission, especially if they believe in it and it make a difference. And then they want to know what the values of your company are. So for us in building culture, what I love about it is we hire people that understand what our mission is and they're behind that mission. So it really starts the hiring, making sure you hire people where they fit your culture. And so we really work with people that because it's nice that we're in a clinical environment, because we hire people that care, that they care about other people and they want to serve other people. And so it makes it easier for us to hire those kind of people, because they generally care anyway about the customer. And so we have 3 values, and every month we give an award every month on those 3 values, so that watching and making sure that people are rewarding them for espousing those values in our company. So I think for culture, as long as people understand that how they can make a difference and how they can grow, and then making sure that you have clearly stated values, and then you kind of reward those values, and I think makes a big difference. We have Act Kind is one of our values, and every month we find people acting kind, whether it's to customers, and we get these 5-star reviews talking about these crazy things they've done to act kind to a customer, make it a better experience, or act kind to somebody inside of a company, or if they are exceeding expectations, one of our other values. And so I think for me, culture is something that you can't fake, or it is what it is, and it's something that you will have a culture whether you like it or not. If you can define a culture and put a culture that really fits your beliefs, and that you hire people that feel the same way, I think that's the key, is you hire and then people that aren't espousing those values, they're not acting kind, guess what? And you talk to them and they still can't seem to act kind to their folks, they're out of the company. So you have to get and keep people that espouse your mission and your values, and you have to work really hard to find ways to keep that culture, because I think that culture is critical to the success of your company more than anything else you can do.
Well, I appreciate this perspective from both of you, because it's going to help all of us, all of us listening, just to think about deeply disruption, think about the industry. And I want to leave it with each of you. Where should people go to find you guys? If they want to work with you guys, if they want to partner with you guys, where should they go to find you? And we'll start with Jeff and then Alex and go from there.
Well, it's jetdental.com. You can kind of see a little bit about us, and you can go to jeff@jetdental.com, jeff@jetdental.com, and kind of go from there. Thank you.
Okay.
Love being on here. I learned a lot from all of you as well. Thank you.
Beam is at beam.dental. So our extension actually ends in dental. And you can email me directly with questions or needs at Fro at beam.dental.
All right. Alex Frommeyer, Jeff Smith, thank you so much for your time. I wish you guys both well in disrupting the industries. And, I wish you guys well getting to the NASDAQ if that's where you want to be soon. Best wishes.
Have a great week.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.